Yo, what's up guys? This is a very special video and I'm very excited to be talking about Halo Reach. I recently bought the Master Chief Collection on Steam and it felt like a fun idea to review every Halo game on the Master Chief Collection. I've played all of these games many years ago on Xbox, but now it's time to revisit them on PC. But are they still worth playing? Let's find out. Like always, I want to start with the campaign, but you can check the timestamps if you're more interested in the multiplayer or Firefight or something. I'm looking at this game as a full package and seeing if every mode is still worth playing. So for those of you who are extra cool, let's get started with the campaign. God damn, the campaign for Halo Reach? Talk about nostalgic. This bad boy came out in 2010 and it was a prime time for gaming. I was just a young lad playing these classic games like Modern Warfare 2 and Halo Reach. So this might be my most nostalgic Halo game, maybe Halo 3. But now I'm playing Halo Reach over a decade later on PC with a keyboard and mouse and a bunch of frames and modern graphics settings. Oh, and I'm playing with a friend, so we're getting that true Halo experience. Just make sure you ask your friend for consent to be in the video first.
By the way, I'm recording without your consent. Yeah!
Do what?
Yeah, you did. Alright, good.
But yeah, when you first start playing Halo Reach, I don't know about you, but since I have nostalgia, I'm just instantly enjoying everything. I know the environment might look dull or boring at first, but I got used to it and killing emus is really fun.
Yo, what the? I forgot about these things. I gotta kill them. Kill all of them. They all have to die.
The environments are big enough for a good firefight, and I think there's enough variety to not get bored. There's a lot of attention to detail that I appreciated. There's also 12 missions in total with about 10 to 15 hours of playtime, and I'm showing you the campaign footage mostly in order. On top of the environments feeling pretty big, the entire scale and presentation of this game can feel larger than life sometimes. Like I'll just be looking at some random firefights in the distance feeling I'm a part of this giant war, or I'll see some vehicle that looks like it's the size of a planet and it could just blow your mind if you think about it too much. You can also throw in this game's amazing soundtrack and the atmosphere. Now you have to keep in mind that this game is over 10 years old and it didn't get a remaster, so sure, the graphics aren't competing with modern games. But I think the effort and care put into these games back then mostly outweigh the better graphics we get now. Like this campaign is fun beginning to end, and there were still times when the graphics or a cutscene amazed me because of how good it looked for a game this old. Just look at the first cutscene. Never mind the graphics though, we're real gamers so we can look past that. The campaign is just a blast to play through, especially with a friend. I really like the feeling this game has with the main squad and all the Marines. It adds to the atmosphere and large-scale presentation of this game, and it's just cool to play side by side with a friend and the AI. When it comes to the characters and the story, yeah, that's when you start to lose me. I like the big machine gun guy and that one guy with the skull on his helmet. They were pretty cool. And when it comes to the story, well, I had to look it up after I beat the game just so I didn't make this video empty-handed. So, the story is like, you and your squad have to go to Planet Reach, right? And then the Covenant was like, nah, fuck that, and just started killing everybody. Bunch of buzzkills, am I right? And then we had to start killing them and rescuing the people they didn't unfortunately kill, and like, yeah, that's all you need to know. Oh, and apparently there's no Master Chief, but whatever. Yeah, I don't know much about the story, but it did get pretty intense and emotional at times. But you want to know what I do know? How badass the weapons are. Like the DMR. This gun is a godsend and probably the balanced resurrection of the OG Halo pistol. Okay, maybe that's a bit far, but man do I love this thing. It's so fun to control the trigger and time your shots for perfect accuracy. Not only that, you have guns like the needle rifle which gets a similar love as the DMR. There's a lot of classic weapons in Halo Reach that feel different or unique in this game, as well as weapons that were new or that you only saw in this game, and it gave them this unique feeling. And don't sleep on the plasma pistol like I did. Now the best way to get a good feel for the weapons is to play on Legendary. Yeah, that's right. Ain't no little boys in here. Me and my gang only play on Legendary. Except on Halo 2. But this is the only way a true man can experience a Halo campaign, and trust me, it'll put some hair on your chest even if you're a girl. But the difficulty and challenge while playing with a friend was definitely one of the best parts. Not only did we have to communicate which weapons we both had, we even nailed down which enemies we were killing. On Legendary, those elites can be some of the toughest enemies with those strong ass shields, and taking it out with a friend and finally taking them down can be so satisfying.
The white
Nice shots, nice shots. Yep, nice shots, nice shots. Good shit, we got him, we got him.
Some of these enemies can be really tough on Legendary, like a grunt with a fuel rod gun ain't nothing, but an elite with a fuel rod gun? Yeah, that hurts. It only made me want to use medium to long range weapons, but the vehicles can be another level of crazy though. Like a Wraith can be shooting at you with damn near perfect accuracy, a Banshee could damage you really fast, and that one spaceship mission can be really hard. And annoying. But on the other hand, I really enjoyed using a vehicle with my friend and deciding who's gonna drive and who's gonna shoot. I think there's a good variety of vehicles and vehicle missions, even though I know some people could hate them. I also think this was the first Halo to introduce armor abilities like the jetpack and sprint. I think they worked really well for the campaign. It was fun and useful using the hologram to distract enemies or using the drop shield as cover. It might be a different story in the multiplayer, but in the campaign, it felt exciting when they gave you something other than sprint. And I don't know if games still do this, but I also think it's cool how everything is built off the campaign. Like parts of the campaign are multiplayer and even Firefight maps. I just like that feeling when the campaign is important. You also get that feeling when doing Easter eggs with how funny or nostalgic they can be, especially with how nostalgic this one is, because if you know about this room, then you know how important it is knowing that this was Bungie's last Halo game. In my opinion, Bungie went out with a bang and gave us a classic. Not only did they make Halo 1, 2, 3, and ODST, they gave us an encore with Halo Reach. So is the Halo Reach campaign still worth playing? Hell yeah it is. I know not everyone feels the same about this game as me and it's a lot of nostalgia talking, but I don't know, I have very few complaints with this game. The only things I could think of are difficulty related, a bit of lag, and maybe the checkpoints. This alt-tab glitch was annoying too, but that wasn't specific to Halo Reach. But none of that was a big deal because I was playing on Legendary, the lag can be on our end, and the checkpoints are mostly forgiving, so at the end of the day, the campaign is pretty much as good as you remember, and playing a Halo campaign with a friend is still one of the most fun things ever. I even made a funny moments video playing through the campaign with my friend if you want to check that out. Let's try to make him famous, but let's get out of our feels and wrap it up with the campaign, and now let's get into the multiplayer. The good old Halo Reach multiplayer. There was so much about this one that made it unique. You remember the DMR? This bad boy is a classic and it's very fun and skillful to master. The biggest thing I learned about getting back into the multiplayer is to get good with precision weapons like the DMR and the sniper. You can't just spam your trigger like in previous Halo games. You have to time your shot if you want to be really accurate. You can get away with spamming your trigger at a closer range, but you still have to be accurate trying to land those headshots. It seems like a lot of players get the memo by now, and if you don't pick up on it, you'll get wrecked. I'm not gonna lie, when I first started playing the multiplayer, I was getting my ass handed to me. I tried using the assault rifle and I quickly learned how much better the DMR is. Of course it's situational though. I had to go through this learning curve for a couple of hours, but I think I'm starting to get the hang of it. Adjusting my sensitivity and key bindings definitely helped. I've only been playing Halo Reach's multiplayer, so I've been getting a good feel for the guns and learning the maps. The maps are so classic to me and still play so well. Learning the best routes, the weapon locations, and how to control a map is very useful and can be a fun and frustrating process. It depends who you play against. But those are the two things I've been trying to master, and in my opinion, the path to success in Halo Reach is multiplayer. Master that DMR and learn the maps. Basic, but true. On top of that, there's other things we have to consider, like what game mode you play. I tried playing a variety of game modes, and luckily I had little to no problems finding games. It does get a little tricky if you're looking for a specific game mode on a specific Halo, mostly if it's less popular, but for the most part I was good. I'm able to select a bunch of objective game modes for just Halo Reach, so I'm good to go. I really enjoy modes like King of the Hill and Capture the Flag, and I recently learned that this game has domination. These game modes are so action-packed, and I just love going for the objective. I also really like the teamwork these type of game modes can force on the player, like everyone going to the objective or trying to keep each other alive. I just enjoy Halo's combat even though it could take a while to get the hang of, and I think these game modes complement the combat really well. But I'd be crazy if I didn't mention game modes like Slayer, SWAT, or even something like Team Shoddy Snipers. I swear, that game mode is so sweaty and intense that it'll put some hair on your chest. It was actually the perfect game mode to adjust my sensitivity though. But beware, because some players on game modes like this are drowning in their sweat and are seemingly impossible to kill. These games have been around for a while and some people just never left. I hate when games are one-sided and players can leave often because of it, which is very annoying. These really good players aren't uncommon and will be your biggest challenge, so beware. But even if you tone it down a bit on SWAT, this mode is great for getting you in that headshot kind of mood, and even if you're not playing SWAT, it's still nearly as valuable to get those headshots. I'm still working on my aim. I also didn't play much of Slayer, but I'm sure it's one of the most populated game modes. I mostly played 4v4, but I wanted to try something a little bigger, and I had a blast on Infected. I really like how there's rounds, so even if you get wrecked, you still get another chance. It's just as fun as I remember, and it can be just as unforgiving if you don't know the best spot on the map. For some reason I was able to find an Infected lobby faster than an 8v8 lobby, and that's a shame because I like big team battles. I was able to play a few matches of it so far, but I'm just letting you know that I had a bit of trouble trying to find this mode. I mostly play pretty late in the day and at night, so maybe you can avoid the sweatier players and find lobbies even faster by playing earlier. I also only played for about 10 or 20 hours as of right now, and that's all on Halo Reach. I know it's not the most amount of time for a multiplayer game, but I plan on playing a lot more, and I feel like it's enough to tell you if the multiplayer is still worth playing. I played a lot of game modes, I was genuinely trying to learn the game and get better, and I got a good feel for the game. Again, I know it's not hundreds or even thousands of hours and that I'm not a high rank or anything, but it's enough to tell you to play the damn game, and I didn't even go over objective things yet like the player count. This game seems to be doing just fine on Steam. It's always averaging thousands of players, which is pretty solid in my book. The amount of players seems to go up and down depending on the month, but it always has a good amount of players. That's not even counting that this game has cross-play, and you'll often play with Xbox players. I personally think that this is really cool, and I seemingly have no problem with it. I've heard bad things about certain games having a tension or a stigma with the PC and console players, but everything seems to be all good on Halo. I see a mix of both players doing good, and I usually can't tell if a player's on PC or Xbox by the way they play, unless they're really bad or on split screen, but I don't play too many games with crossplay, and it feels like the Xbox and PC players forgetting their differences just to make peace and play some Halo. But for all I know, the Xbox players hate us. On top of all that, I really like the challenges and modern features the MCC brings to the older Halo games, like leveling up and progressing through the battle pass. It just makes it that much more satisfying and gives a lot more motivation to keep playing. Halo Reach is just a classic, and I'm glad I've been able to get back into the multiplayer. I had to get used to the DMR and even things like Sprint, the jetpack, and the hologram because Reach introduced all of that to Halo, not to mention getting used to the maps and where the weapons spawn. But even though it's a bit of a challenge to get back into, I think it's worth it and that the Halo Reach multiplayer is still worth playing. If you want to keep this party going, then let's get into my opinions on Forge mode. Now we're getting the creative juices flowing, and I think I'm gonna say it. Forge mode is one of the best level editors of all time. There, I said it. It's pretty easy to get used to, and you can do a lot with it. You also get to move around as this little forge ball, which makes it more fun and interactive. Forge mode was actually the first thing I did when I got the Halo Master Chief Collection because I was nostalgic about making custom maps like I did over a decade ago. I used to make all these different kinds of maps and wanted to show off to my friends, but this time around I made these two maps, and the first one is a parkour map that I didn't finish, and the second one is a racing map that I did finish. Let's look at the unfinished parkour map first. I was mostly just getting used to everything and learning the basics. There can be some annoying specific things you have to get used to, but it felt rewarding. Like the teleporters can be a bit confusing at first, but it's not that hard to learn and is very useful to know. I wanted to start with a parkour map because it seemed simple enough to learn all the objects as I made the map. It starts off pretty simple, but then I get a little experimental. I like how I put some decorations and detail in that first area even though I didn't finish the map. Priorities, right? I probably spent 10 or 15 hours on this first map and just learning the controls. I know it doesn't look like it, but I have to say that I couldn't get used to Forge mode on a keyboard and mouse. I realize I have to use my Xbox controller because it's so much easier. And as you get to the end of the map, yeah, it isn't much. I actually end the second map in a similar way, but I guess when I got to this teleporter, I just stopped. I know the biggest reason for that was having problems setting checkpoints for a parkour map. I think you have to change the game mode and use these objective markers, but I just decided to move on to the second map. This map is much more complete and it was a lot easier dealing with the checkpoints, so I actually finished this one. After learning all the basic stuff, I got into my zone when I made this map. It's a racing map with one lap that goes all around Forge World, and I went in with the detail hitting the max item limit. Man, I put my blood, sweat, and jizz into this map. Not to mention all the new stuff in Forge, like all the new items and buildings. I had a lot more fun being comfortable in learning the items on this map compared to my first one. They also doubled the item limit on the Master Chief Collection, so me hitting the item limit took some effort. It might not look like it on a surface level, but just like a YouTube video, there can be a lot of little things you do to make the video presentable. In this case, learning all the structures, decorations, objective markers, having all the right settings, and all the things it takes to make a functional map. It can take a while. I made sure all the kill boundaries were set up correctly, and I playtested the map a bunch of times. All that background stuff most of you won't appreciate, but even if you don't notice those type of things, you can at least notice that I'm making this map available for you guys to download. I'm only able to do this because of all the extra stuff I did to make sure this map works. I'll show you how to download it on the screen, or there's instructions in the description. That's one thing I always liked about Forge mode in custom games, how you can just download other people's maps or share the maps you made. It keeps the community strong. I just have all these good memories of making maps and sharing them with my friends, and I love how I can recreate those moments in modern times, and you get this nice warm feeling when a friend likes and compliments your map. It reminds me of the good old days. I even went back and fixed some things because it's like having your own little lab rat playtest your map. There were definitely a lot of funny moments, and Forge mode can just be fun to mess around with. There's also custom games, and I thought it was pretty next level that you're able to search for custom games in a browser. Just look at all these game modes. I was able to play some really interesting and classic stuff like Duck Hunt, Castle Wars, Zombies, Gun Game, Infected with some unique maps, and I think there's that one called Fat Kid or Ice Cream Truck or something. I just think it's really cool how you can play all of this so easily. Not only is it fun to occasionally play a custom game, there's also challenges for it, so even though you don't get XP for kills or medals, you can still finish a challenge every now and then for XP. There's one where you have to get kills with precision weapons like the sniper, and I think that's why this sniper free-for-all lobby is so common. It's really fast, intense, and fun once you get the hang of it. And above all that, Forge helped me get back into YouTube because when I was gone for a few months, I was releasing my creative juices into my Forge maps, and after I finished my racing map, it made me want to put those creative juices back into my YouTube videos. So obviously I have a very positive opinion on Forge mode. It gives people a simple and fun way to create a map, and even if you don't care about that, you can still play other people's maps without putting in any effort. Forge mode the MVP. Finally, with the last mode we're checking out, last but maybe least, we have Firefight. Now I don't mean to talk bad on Firefight, It was just the mode I was least excited for. That doesn't mean it's bad, there's just a few things surrounding it that I don't like. This first one is more of a personal thing, but there's only a handful of achievements for Firefight out of the 700 achievements in the Master Chief Collection. I was surprised by this, but something simple like getting a certain score on every map, or just beating every map would have had me playing a lot more Firefight. I'm also not sure if I like how the matchmaking works for Firefight. You can select all of these different game modes, but I don't think you can pick that original classic Firefight. I think you'd have to do a custom game and you can mess with all the settings, but I just prefer the classic way. Maybe I'm wrong about this and my first impression is a bad take, but at the very least I do enjoy some of the game modes like Snipers Only and Rockets Only. Halo Reach has some really fun and classic Firefight maps, which makes it way more enjoyable. And since I'm a sucker for XP and leveling up, you'll often have monthly or weekly challenges to play Firefight, and in that case, I really don't mind playing it. Playing Snipers or Rockets Only with another person can be really fun. Except I don't know why my teammates are often very bad. Like, I'm carrying most of the Firefight games, and I can see why noobs would want to warm up in Firefight, but they end up leaving half the time. I appreciate modes like Firefight, but I advise all of you noobs to not waste your limited lives that you share with your teammates, and don't leave the game. If you're not a noob, then prepare to deal with both of these things a lot. Well, there you guys have it, my casual but long review covering everything in Halo Reach. Not to mention this being a part of the Master Chief Collection and everything that comes with that, like all the challenges, achievements, customization, and even crossplay. Halo Reach really is a full package of a game if you get into every part of it. Not only is it very nostalgic for some of us, but it's just simply a good game in my opinion. I think it aged very well, and even if you never played it, it's still a great and challenging experience. I had very few problems or complaints. Most of them had to do with the Master Chief Collection, the matchmaking, or the optimization rather than flaws with the game itself. It runs very well and I like the new graphics settings, but make sure you fix that glitch where you can't Alt-Tab back into the game. I'll leave a link in the description to the forum that helped me with this. There's also a bit of lag in the campaign, but hey, that's probably our fault. And I wish a friend can join back into the campaign if they disconnect, and it sucks when you have to restart the level. If I'm wrong about anything, then leave a comment and don't yell at me too badly. But overall, returning to Halo Reach has been one of my favorite gaming experiences in a while, along with the entire Master Chief Collection. I just felt like I had to review all of these classic Halo games when I finally got my hands on them, and it turns out Halo Reach was the first game we decided to play, and it's the first Halo in chronological order. I'm not including Halo Wars either. Okay, I respect Halo Wars from what I've heard, but the next Halo we're going to be looking at is Halo 1, or more famously known as Halo Combat Evolved, where the entire series started. But thank you guys for watching this far into the video and sharing the memories with me. This is one of my most nostalgic games of all time, and I'm happy I made this video giving Reach the respect it deserves. And you watching the video, you get my respect for making it this far. This is my longest video since returning to YouTube, and I did not expect it to take so long, so your support means a lot. Since you did make it this far, you might like me enough to consider liking or subscribing, and don't forget to drop a comment with any opinions or if I said anything wrong. I'd like to get some discussions going. Maybe tell me your experience with the game and if you still play it. Man, I hope I didn't forget anything, but you guys can check on the screen for some of my other videos. My other Halo videos will be here if they're already out, and don't forget to make my friend famous and watch the funny moments video. But now, it's time to play Halo 1. Peace.